Hello, this is Elaine Sugar, award-winning children's program facilitator and overall supporter of children's dreams. Welcome to the Empower Teen Self-Esteem podcast. We bring you ideas and resources that help teens shine and help ease parents' minds. Welcome to the Empower Teen Self-Esteem program. I am here with Robin Johnson, and we are going to be talking about spirituality and youth. So this is a great topic for our audience, for our teens and parents. So Robin, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here, Elaine.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here. It took us a while, but we made it, working out the schedules and everything. So I cannot wait for you to dive into this topic. But before we start discussing it, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right. I'm in the Philadelphia area, and I am a spiritual life coach. And that means that I help people understand some of the beliefs that have come out of the way they have grown up, that are no longer serving them, and that force them into places of conflict and chaos, and they don't quite know why. So I help people to kind of reconcile what has happened to them so that they can create the lives that they're really meant to live in alignment with the spiritual, with the divine that is within all of us.
Wow, powerful stuff. That's great work that you do. So based on what you do, I can see this being just as beneficial for parents. So why don't we get right into it? What is something that you think it's important for us to understand about the youth today and spirituality?
I think the most important thing to understand is that spirituality is not the same thing as religion. Religion is a set of formalized beliefs about God. And there are many variations, therefore many different religions. But spirituality is about a state of being where you are just automatically connected to everyone and everything that exists. And so the discussion today is about that connection that we need to foster in our youth so that as they become adults, their decision-making is much better. It's not so independently focused on what I need, what I want, and I don't care about you. We're not fostering spirituality in youth. As a result, we're getting a lot of adults that are still too independent in their thinking and not broad enough in their decision-making so that the outcomes benefit the whole.
Wow. So can you give an example of that? What's a time when you're making decisions and it's not broad enough, your considerations?
Wow. Well, that's a good question. Let's do an easy one.
Okay.
Most people, when they are adults and they have money, they can buy whatever they want, when they want, for the most part, especially when it comes to food. So if you are not trained in your spiritual growth, if you've not had that kind of connectivity enforced, you are the kind of person who will go to the store, pick up some fast food, bring it home to a family of 4 or 5, but you only bought it for yourself. You did not think about who wants what, who likes what, if this works for everybody else. You are only focused on what you need and what you want.
Excellent. Excellent. What do you think is probably something that might be causing some issues of tension between teens and their parents regarding spirituality? What are some of the conflicts that arise and what advice can you offer?
I think the biggest conflict is I think this new generation, they're very spiritual. And I see that in their willingness to come together on social justice issues. The teens will come out quickly to support Black Lives Matter. They'll come out quickly to support anti-gun violence. They'll come out quickly to support climate change. They will protest easily and effortlessly on all issues that affect everyone globally. They are about equity and fairness naturally. But the older generations do not see, they see civil rights and spirituality as separate in many instances. So what they're looking for is they're looking for their teens to be willing to go to church, to be willing to go to some institution where these beliefs are taught so that then they can come back out and do what they're doing. But the youth are skipping that step. They're instantly connected to one another through social media. They understand their role in the world. And so if parents can just back up from thinking that because the teen does not go to church, that they do not have a spiritual grounding, that is not true. I think this generation, and I have some statistics that talk about children are born naturally connected. It's the way we condition them by trying to limit them, sometimes in official structural religions, that then limit the way they then engage with others.
Isn't that fascinating?
Because sometimes our religious traditions are set up to make my tradition the only acceptable tradition. Now we've got conflict between traditions. That's why Muslims fight Christians. That's why, we have all of this chaos that goes on because the religions of the world have set themselves up as this is the only way. This is the only way to your connectivity with God. And what is true through spirituality is we are all connected to the source of all that is. And there's nothing that we need to do to earn that or to create that for ourselves.
So we've touched on some really challenging topics and issues for teens and parents. And I know you said you had some stats you want to share. So it's up to you if you want to share those now, but then I want to switch it to some solutions. What are some things that teens and their parents can do together, or what can we do to lighten up this situation?
All right.
What are some things that will satisfy the parents' concern, the teens' needs? We can lighten it up. So go right ahead.
All right. So I'm going to do some of the information first, some of the stats.
Yes.
So that we get a better idea of what needs to happen. As I said, I'm a life coach, but my expertise is not in youth, but I just was sent some information about spirituality and youth.
Excellent.
So I am going to share that now. So there's a movement going on right now in education for K through 12. And the movement says that we need to develop the entire child. So it's called the whole child education. And what that's including in some cases in the curriculum, in addition to math and reading and writing, they're now including some social and emotional behavior and characteristic development. So they're looking at how to really help children, help youth with their overall development, not just reading, writing, and assume that your personality will develop. So now here's some science. So science has found that we are all born with a genetic capacity for being spiritual. And that capacity at birth is already developed at 30%. And the problem is that If we don't nurture that 30%, that 30% goes down with time. And then it's a much harder task to bring adults into understanding their spirituality. And one of the ways you can see this in youth, especially younger children, is because they're very free.
Mm,
they're
yeah.
very creative. They're in awe, they're in wonder. They see everything as a part of them. And that is what needs to be fully developed, not what needs to be suppressed in them. You know, we have a structure, we have a way of conditioning people to make it too much about the individual and not enough about how the individual fits into the whole.
Mm-hmm.
So what the statistics say, that if you create a strong sense of spirituality in your youth, that as adolescents who are grounded in spirituality, they are 60 to 80% less likely to become depressed, to become addicted, or to become suicidal.
Wow.
Once we ground youth in accepting their own spirituality and accepting their own connectivity to all that is, they're less likely to be the victims of that, of depression, of addiction, and of suicide.
Wow. That's
We don't think about
fascinating.
that. We really don't. And the last thing I'll say is that when it comes to leadership, there is something that's being called relational spirituality. And that is, you see your relationship in connection to yourself, your family, and to others. And so when you make decisions, you use your relational spirituality to do that as you grow older. You know, and if you're learning to do this early on, if you're learning to be concerned about your sisters, your brothers, your classmates, if you're learning that, then your leadership style will always be to include people in your decision making.
Nice.
And all of this is based on a belief that we are all one, we are all connected. That's the spirituality. There is some kind of divine presence. There's a presence, there's an essence in all of us that connects all of us beyond our physical bodies. And if we allow each other to say, okay, that works for me, but let me define how that is for me, then we will have a better way of engaging one another, because the end result is what we're looking for us to share and care and be compassionate about each other.
Wow.
So
Fantastic.
all right. So now
it.
what can we do? What can parents do? What can children do? I think the first thing that parents can do is relax. Just relax. Relax. You don't have to feel the need to correct your youth or your children at every turn. One of the things that I found out recently is that 85% of the people in the world, based on the 2020 global census, 85% of the people in the world believe in God and follow some type of religious tradition. 85%. At the Fetzer Institute, they're looking to build what they call the spiritual infrastructure for our emerging world. And what they're coming up with is that people are beginning to mix elements of different religions that work for their own spiritual path. So we have Christians that are taking on meditation practices from Buddhism. People are mixing and blending everything. So we have cultures where a lot of these religious traditions are the main or dominant way of that culture. And as a result of that the legal systems, information systems, education systems, they're all infused with these principles. So in America, for example, America is still considered a Christian nation.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, that's our legal system. So you will learn quickly, if not in church, you will learn in the world. Thou shalt not kill.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt not steal. You don't have to know the literal King James Version from the Holy Bible version, but you will get that just growing up in the society.
God, that makes
So
sense.
there are certain things that come out of living in a culture where certain norms are what is acceptable. So for parents, they can just relax a little bit around what their kids are learning and why. Their children, the parents' job, teach the children right from wrong. You can use your Bible quotes if you like, because many of us do remember a bunch of those Bible quotes. But don't get too deep with your children and trying to get them to see your perspective, because they're not living in your world.
Mm.
They're coming into their own world with their own influences, with their own perceptions. I would say to parents, give your children room, encourage them to analyze and synthesize how they see their own reality, and have your children know beyond a shadow of a doubt that who they are on the inside is so much stronger than who they are on the outside. Many of us who come from religious traditions, we know the saying, he that is within me is stronger or greater than he that is within the world. As children are taught to follow their own intuitive guidance, their own spiritual guidance, they will always make decisions that benefit themselves and the whole. And for the parents, I would recommend that do some things together that let children show you who they are. Awesome. So for instance, it's time to go to the movies. Let the children or the youth pick the movie and find out from them why. Don't judge them, don't criticize them, find out from them why. Even if you watch the movie and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this, then get into what did you see and why did you want to watch it and why did you like it? I think if we can just all pull back from the criticism and the judgment that we put on each other, then we can begin to see the thought process that we are each operating from. And from there, that's how we can live in a world in oneness. You know, that's the name of my organization, ETA to Oneness Institute. ETA, estimated time of arrival to oneness. That's what it stands for. And we all need to move there. And a spiritual path is one way we can get there, because we're all innately connected and we need to recognize that connectivity.
Awesome. This has been fantastic wisdom that you've shared today, Robin. Thank you so much. And before I let you go, let's make sure everyone knows how they can get in contact with you, and then tell us what you have coming up next.
Okay, so the best way to track me and what I'm doing is you can reach me on my website, ETA2 Oneness, ETA, the number 2, ONENESS.com, ETA to Oneness. You could also send me email if you like at robinjohnson@ETA2Oneness.com. So coming up, there's a series of things, but the one coming up in about a week, May 21st, it's about managing your anger. And as a life coach, we're going to look at this from a slightly different perspective. We're going to look at anger as information that allows you to make some changes and navigate the changes that need to be made. So that's what's coming up. That's what's coming up for me, in addition to working with Elaine in September on the upcoming MAPS event.
Yes. Yes, and that MAPS event is our mental wellness and positivity support event. It's a global event that takes place September 11th through the 17th. So Everyone can follow me on social media and check that out as well. But this has been fantastic, Robin. Thank you so much. And I must say, you had one of the most memorable sessions on our wellness event last September. The interview you did with you and your sister, the session, it was just so powerful. I still remember that. So you're always bringing wonderful things into the world, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Elaine.
Yes. And to our listeners, we say thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Empower Teen Self-Esteem. We will see you next time. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Empower Teen Self-Esteem. Please follow Kids More Sugar on social media. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel to show that you support this content. And you can visit our website at kidsmoresugar.com to learn more about our free online kids program. Thank you.